I got a very bad speeding ticket in Iceland, driving a Range Rover in Iceland. The lady cop basically said, pay in cash or you're going to jail. I was like, who's keeping that money?
So you're calling from China, right? Most people aren't going to know much about you. So if you just want to tell us about yourself in 30 to 60 seconds.
Yeah, my name is Josh Fairbairn. I'm the CEO of a company called Morpho MFG. Our headquarters in Guangzhou. We have an office in Hong Kong and in India, and we're a contract manufacturing company.
I'm going to go straight in the deep end with the personal questions.
Let's do it.
And just ask, what's your net worth?
I saw your interview. I forget what his name was, the older gentleman.
Mark Tilbury.
And his answer is the same as mine, right? I think the more you make, the less likely you're going to answer until it's public. But the one thing that I do with my friends, and this maybe is something you can take on too, is talking about percentage of your net worth that you're invested in different asset classes to show how committed you are to those things. Because then you can see, really what people are doing with their money. And I think that is probably mostly what people want to know anyways.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to give us the percentages then?
Well, I don't have the whole breakdown, but I'll give you some.
Okay.
So I invest in whiskey. That door behind me is a Murphy door with a whiskey room. I think I showed you that last time. I would say probably 5% of my net worth is in whiskey. I own properties in Costa Rica. Probably 10, 15% of my net worth is in Costa Rica. Cryptocurrency is probably 30. Stocks are probably 20. And the rest is actually there's some gold, some watches, and then probably the rest is cash. But pretty spread out. I like to invest in lots of different things. And I don't really like cash. I like to either invest it or spend it.
That's interesting that you've got such a bigger percentage in crypto. Most people would have a majority in either stocks or real estate, but you've gone heavier in crypto. Why is that?
I'm younger. Right. You're obviously younger than me, but certainly I'm younger than your last interview.
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 33. Right when a crypto came out called Stellar, XLM. When you signed up for an account, you could get 10,000 for free just for signing up. I never really thought about it again until 2017 when I saw a headline about Stellar partnering with IBM. So I got really lucky there, and then I've just kind of ridden that wave since then.
That's awesome. Okay, another personal finance question then that you might not also want to share, but it's probably a bit less intense is, what's your monthly personal income and also, let's say, monthly net profit of your business?
Yeah, probably not going to answer that either. But I think the important thing is to realize, often people will say that, people who have money don't trade their time for money. I don't even think about, because I pay myself a small salary comparative to the revenue of the company, but I have an expense account. I pay for most of my life doing business, right? My office, all my equipment, everything like that. So I don't really think about the salary, but we're well past 7-figure revenue a year. I think we'd be on our way to 9 if it weren't for COVID, but we're lower than that. Somewhere in between those two, I'll let you figure out some guesses.
How many employees have you got going now then?
Yeah, we're about 50 across the whole world. People kind of spread out.
And what do you look for when you're hiring people? Because it sounds like you got some pretty smart guys.
Yeah, so I dropped out of university after 3 semesters with a high 1 point something GPA. So I definitely don't really care about where people went to school or what they got on a test. I'm not really interested. I want people who will work hard and will take initiative. That's it. Right. I think as CEO, your job is to come up with big picture ideas and come up with a framework that allow those things to come to place. And if people aren't taking an initiative, that will never happen.
Do you feel successful as a CEO, with all these employees in a big company? Do you feel successful? Do you feel like you'll never be satisfied?
Yeah, I think more the latter. I mean, I'm a happy enough guy. I'm not sitting depressed and thinking I'm a failure at home all the time. But yeah, I always want the company to be bigger. I always want to hire more people. I want to make $1 billion company one day. So, and I'm sure when I get there, it won't be enough either.
Because you said a while back that you passed the million net worth, but now you want to be a billionaire and you're on your way to that.
One of my really good buddies is a real estate investor in the Caribbean. And when I told him that, he was kind of laughing, but he was like, I think it's probably less competitive to try to be a billionaire than it is to try and be a millionaire. You probably have less people to compete with, which obviously was joke, but it's kind of true, right? You know, people don't really talk about it. And for me, it's not about the money. I don't really care about money. I like nice things. I like nice whiskey. It's fun to invest. I like driving nice cars and traveling, but there's not really a difference between a million. Well, of course, between a million and a billion, but once you've passed the million and realize some financial independence, it's not like I'm doing that much different stuff these days. It's just your purchasing power as a company, right? As an entrepreneur, people that you're able to hire, places you're able to open offices.
So your personal lifestyle hasn't changed in quite a while then?
Oh, thanks to damn COVID, I haven't really had a chance to do much, which I think is pretty good, right? You know, it's allowed me to sit back and really focus on the company and the growth. And just changing the way we do business, because nobody can come to China anymore. So we have to figure out how to spread our message without them being able to be here.
When you first reached out to me, it was for a consultation, which turned out to be about how to grow your YouTube channel,
Sure.
Which is for your business, of course.
Yeah.
So is the reason you want to do that because you're needing different ways to market to people with the whole China, people not being able to come?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. You know, I got stuck out. So I went with my girlfriend to Switzerland right before COVID. And on the way back, COVID hit. I ended up stuck in Bali. I get it. No sympathy. Nobody cares. I got stuck there and just started hiring different people in the marketing department, like manager for content. We shot our first video, hired somebody to manage the ads. And I just really got into that zone. I've got really into the marketing as of late and really enjoyed starting to do that. And then just got into YouTube last year, and you know, getting help wherever you can, I think, is important.
Do you think that anyone is cut out for it, or like you can learn to be an entrepreneur, or have you always felt like you were from, you know, a really young age that that's what you were supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the answer is probably not, but Gary Vee is a perfect example. It's not like he's the smartest guy. I bet his IQ is quite average, actually. But he just hustles. And I think that is something that you're more born with or you're not, whether you're the type of person to be willing to do that, right? A lot of people can't handle the uncertainty of not having a paycheck. And some people will never want a paycheck, right? Like I had tons of jobs growing up. I worked at Wendy's and Quiznos, and like I had tons of jobs growing up, and I just knew I'm not doing that again. I'm not working for my manager, Doug. This loser Doug. Yeah. I'm not doing that anymore. But some people do, and it's fine. And there's safety and security in collecting a paycheck, and good for them. That makes them happy. That's what they should do.
What does your daily routine look like? Do you have any daily habits or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm not a morning person. I never really have been. I find that I work the best at night when no one can bother me. And it also opens, with East Coast in the States and Guangzhou being 12 hours, it also makes it very easy to communicate with our customers. And, I manage sales and marketing. Most of our customers are in the West. Most of our sales and marketing people are in the West. So it makes the most sense. But yeah, I'll stay at the office usually till like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Wow.
Wake up, do whatever I want, and then come in around lunch. And then from then till the end of the workday, my assistant basically handles everything because I'm pretty organizationally handicapped.
What's your work-life balance like?
That's actually something I struggle with. So I had my cousin move out here, and when he came out here, he's like, "You're always partying and you're always working. And because of that, you don't do either of those as good as you should." And not like partying, like being a wild man, although, I've had my days. but just not really ever fully plugged in and not really ever fully plugged out. And I think that's a problem with a lot of entrepreneurs, actually. I think that is important, to be able to unplug and to be able to get away from your business so that you can come back with a refreshed and probably new perspective and angle. You have to figure out how to take time off and how to have your deep breaths and do things you enjoy that have nothing to do with your business.
When you were younger then and you were getting into business, how much money did you start with? And like, what was your upbringing like? And when did you launch your first business? How much money?
Have you read Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I have.
So my dad he's passed away, but was poor dad. He was a genius lawyer, had read basically every book, could talk about really anything he wanted, but never really made any money, really ever. And we weren't poor by any stretch of the, not even close. But we weren't rich, right? We weren't like throwing money around and eating lobster. But then my parents had got divorced, and my mom's new boyfriend is totally the opposite. Just really hardworking, but also very savvy and good with investing. And so I grew up always wanting to do business, never really learning anything about business from anybody, but always wanting to do that. And so my first business, I think I launched with 45 cents by going to the convenience store and buying some candy and selling it to kids that were too lazy to walk to the store. My second business was, I think when I was 13 or 14, I was pretty into magic, not the cards, like magic tricks. And so I figured out how to do some, and me and my mom made them like at home and then sold them on eBay. And it wasn't like a crazy business or anything, but we made a few $1,000 here and there.
Wow. Yeah.
And then just kind of like off and on weird ideas that most entrepreneurs have done at some point in their upbringing. But then really it changed when I went to university and started learning more about China and started importing stuff. Lots of which failed. Me and my roommate had imported a bunch of bongs from China, and the guy ripped us off and ran away with our money. Imported a bunch of headphones and just kind of ramped that up until I went to China. And my parents both value education. But when I dropped out, I haven't really asked for money from my parents since then. Since when I left home at like 16, and not that they wouldn't have given it to me, just that, I didn't want to, right? I wanted to figure it out myself. So I moved to China with a plane ticket and like $500, which is more than $500 in Toronto, surely, but it's still not that much money. And then just had to hustle odd jobs until I had enough money to start up my next business.
I think it's also really interesting how when you were 13 and you chose basically to make a product, and the business that you have now is helping other people make products. It's something you've always been interested in. That's cool.
Yeah.
What is currently limiting you growing your business? Like, what would need to change so you could just 5 or 10x out in like the next year?
Well, I mean, this is a little cliche, but money. I have no problem investing my money in the company. The difference is, because I have, right? That's where I've invested most of my money for most of my life, is back into my business. I could have taken much more out, but instead hiring talent and expanding and investing in the business has been a priority. And one thing I'm looking at now is either raising an investment, something I've never done in my life. I've never wanted to, and I've always just wanted to do it myself. I didn't even pay myself or my partners a salary 4 years ago. Obviously, that didn't last very long to keep them around. But our overhead is significant now, right? It's a lot of money that we're spending every month. Our ad spend is increasing all the time. 50 employees, office. It's just a lot of money. And so to put that much more into ads and into the things that we need to scale, it just makes sense to get investment.
Biggest goal for the end of the year?
Something that I'm like really starting to get into is YouTube. I know we talked about it when we first met about how, you've kind of hit that tipping point where you've gone through like the hardest part. I think by the end of the year, it'd be cool if I could hit a tipping point. Obviously, I have a little more resources probably than starting, just in debt like how you did, right? I have a bit more firepower to throw at it. So I think that would be my biggest goal. Maybe I can throw it back at you, what you think is reasonable if money weren't a hurdle that you had to go for to grow a channel in 1 year or 6 months rather.
For your channel and your situation, I think 10K subs will probably be a good thing to go for. Like definitely achievable as long as you implement some of the stuff we talked about.
Yeah.
I think definitely 10K.
Cool.
Plenty of channels not plenty. There are channels that hit 100K and 1 million subs in 12 months, but they're obviously the exceptions. Whereas I think 10K is a reasonable, it would be a really good achievement.
One thing that I'm coming to realize too is the value per subscriber for a business account like mine is obviously much higher than somebody dancing on TikTok, right? Like it's a lot easier probably to get more subscribers. But what is the actual revenue they're taking away per subscriber is probably not that significant. Having said that, if I got to dance for those subs, bro.
We talked about what you invest in, but say for me, or for anyone watching, how would you advise them to invest? Or how would you advise them to choose what they should invest in?
If you just keep your money in stuff that will survive, you're going to do fine, especially if you're young, right? I mean, it's probably different advice if you're about to retire. But for me, it's about accumulating good investments. My whiskey portfolio is up probably 400% since I started. Crypto is not even a real number. It's such a high percent return. Real estate, is 10% plus rent every year, the rent money that you're yielding. There's just, accumulate and hold.
So you're saying it doesn't matter too much about what you're investing in so long as it's relatively, secure. You're focused more on making lots of money and then just parking it somewhere safe.
Totally. My goal is not to sell any of my assets ever. And there's obviously pros and cons to that. What I think most people fail to do is zoom out properly, right? They look at their charts of investing, they zoom in on short time frames. If you zoom out though, stuff just goes up.
From what you do know about me, do you have any advice that you would give me as a business success? Well, in my perspective, successful business owner.
I reached out to you, so what you're doing is working, right? I think probably the biggest takeaway that you gave me is just to not worry so much about what you're putting out. Just try to get followers, be entertaining, right? And just get that follower number up and figure out how to do that. And people, you're going to be transparent no matter what. Right? People are going to see through you if you're faking, and they're going to see the real you. And I think you do a really good job of that. So I'd figure out a way to amplify that. If you've saved up some money, risk it on yourself, right? I think what you're doing is already good. You just need to find out how to get the power of what you're doing and amplify the results. I think that will just come.
That's interesting you should say that, because I have got some money saved up. It's just gotta, hasn't it? Like if I say hire a full-time editor to make me double or triple my video output, that's surely gotta more than double or triple the rate of growth.
I think way too often people think about the ifs or the whats and the buts and just make so many excuses. Drown that out, right? I'm talking about meditating a lot, like I meditate 3 times a day. That's not the reality. But figure out how to control your brain, drown everybody out, and go with your gut instinct. Bro, you have 5,000 subscribers on YouTube and have a good channel, right? Invest in yourself, hire the editor, throw all the money on black, right? You have a good thing. Maybe that's a sensitive subject. But get into it, while the going's good. If you don't, you'll regret it. If you don't, and it never happens, you'll regret it. If you do and it doesn't work, you'll be proud of it at the end of the day, I promise.
Well, that's that decided then, because I already wanted to do that, so I kind of just decided.
Do it.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, that's all the questions I have for you. Thanks so much for doing this with me.
All right, bro.
Yeah.
I'll keep in touch.
Yeah, it's been great talking with you.
Peace.